What is up, YouTube? It's that whatchamacallit barber here. And today's video is more for beginners, but for all of you that are good at fading, don't exclude yourself from this video because who knows, maybe with my 5 tips at getting good at fading, you might learn a thing or two or just pick up a little nugget here and there. So let's get into the list. Now, number one on my list, and this is in no particular order from top to bottom, nothing is more important than the other, but this one has some slight importance over the others. And number one is repetition. In most things that most people practice, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, playing pool, riding a bike competitively, repetition is key. Repetition, you get the reps in, you get all the practice in that you can, you make all of the adjustments within your repetition, you make your mistakes within your repetition, and that's the same thing as fading. No one is going to wake up and just magically, just like that, become good at fading or know how to fade. Usually this happens over time. And the thing with repetition is you need to take some sort of documentation of your work, whether it's a picture or a video, what have you, something where you can keep an inventory of your skills and go back and hold yourself accountable to something. Meaning, at the beginning of your progression to learn how to fade, take a picture in the beginning. Then maybe a month later, or you cut this client's hair 3, 5 more times. Then you go back and look at that beginning picture and then stack that up against what you're doing present day. And then if you see progression, then things are good. And then you go from there. But repetition is key. Barbering, primarily it is a practice because each different haircut you do you're practicing, whether you're working on some certain skill, whether you have a different hair texture that you've never faced before. It's all a practice into achieving one common goal, which is learning how to fade in this situation. Now, the second one is almost just as important as the first one. Like I say, none of these, in my opinion, have more importance over the other or more influence than the other. They're all equally important. But the second one is having a system. You need a system when it comes to learning how to fade. Now, this is, like I say, for beginners. Now, the more experienced barbers may have a different opinion on that, and I totally agree with you because once you learn how to fade and you know your blades, your guards, your clippers, and everything, you can just go in there. That's if you can fade and just make a fade mysteriously happen. You don't need a system. You can just fade and the fade would just happen. Some people need a system. Some people need a formula. That's all different. But in this scenario for the beginner, you need a system, whether it's you create your first guideline with a zero guard or maybe your adjustables open or your OA or your one, then you create another line on top of that and maybe another line on top of that, and then you blend all the lines out. If you go by that system, it will help you immensely in learning how to fade because it will create structure within your fading process. Because what happens is with a lot of beginners is they'll just go in, especially if they haven't watched any YouTube videos, they don't know what they're doing, and they're just going in there willy-nilly. We see that happen with a lot of dads that cut their son's hair. They'll just go in and just start cutting. Next thing you know, they create the little bald line or whatever line they created. Then next thing you know, the line's just raising up and up and up. And then now they got a damn chili bowl. They look like a U.S. Marine. So have a system. It will definitely help you. And then once you get comfortable in fading and you learn the ins and outs of that system and you're just putting out fades how you want, when you want, your time is good, then you can try and work on even before that, you can try and work different systems on how to fade, different techniques to make it quicker, different techniques to make your fades overall better. But like I say, number 2, have a system. You need a system because it creates that structure for your fade. If you don't have a system, and I remember I had these problems in the beginning, I didn't really have a system, or I had a system, but I veered away from my system and started doing my own, because what happened was I would fade and then things wouldn't go so well in the system because I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I'd end up tinkering with the fade here, tinkering with the fade there, and then it looks like a totally different fade. Then I got to make some adjustments, and then the fade starts to raise and looks a little bit different. But that system is going to create normalcy in your fade, and it will help you have some structure in your fade. Because what will happen is if you have your system and you go through it, boom, 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 and you look back and you see that the fade is not what you want it to be, just go back and do your system all over again. especially if you don't know how to detail, because it's easy to put a fade in a haircut. Because what you'll see from most barbers is they'll put a fade in a haircut and they'll get the fade set in, and then they'll go back and do their detail work. And that's where a lot of people also mess up in, is the detail work, which leads me to my third tip at what it takes to make a good fade or help you learn how to fade. And that is knowing what actually is, we'll come back to that one. The third one we'll go to is knowing your guards, blades, and clippers. This is very important in learning how to fade, because like I said, with the detail work, when you go in and you set the fade in, you use your guards and whatever your system you use. Now, once it's time to do detail work, that's the cleanup work. That's to polish the fade. That's to make it look immaculate. Now, in this time when you're doing detail work, there's no real system in detail work, because you're having to use your barber eye. You're having to put on guards, open and close the lever on your adjustables, maybe take on and off different blades, use your corners and just kind of tap at it, and then comb or brush, tap, and there's no structure in detailing. And that's where a lot of people have problems. And that's where a lot of barbers mess up, is in the details. They might put the wrong guard on, wrong blade. They may open it or close it a little bit too much or less, and they might not be fading something, or they may just plug by fading too much or digging in the wrong way. Understanding your guards, blades, and clippers is immensely important in learning how to fade, because in that detail process, that's where you can screw your fade up. Trust me, I've done that before. I've seen many people do it, and trust me, there will be more barbers that do the same thing after this video. So hopefully you can take that tip. Hopefully it works for you. But let's move into number 4. Number 4 is knowing what a good fade looks like. That is very, very important. Now, my perception and your perception may differ. My barber eye and your barber eye are different. Now, you got, for the beginners, this more isn't for the experienced barbers, but experienced barbers know what the barber eye is. The more unexperienced barbers, they don't know what a barber eye is. Now, knowing what a good fade looks like, and then you actually doing it yourself, in the repetition, like I said, which was the number 1, it comes a point in time in fading where you'll have that epiphany, that light bulb moment where it just hits you and everything just starts to click. Don't get frustrated with fading. That is another key I'm not going to put as a tip, but do not get frustrated in fading. It's all a practice, repetition. You will get better. It may not seem like you're going to get better, but in time you will get better. And sometimes, like I say, you have that epiphany, that aha moment, the light goes off in your head, and then the fades just start becoming easier. And then now you're in another level. Now you start to see things in the fade that you didn't see before, meaning, oh man, I left this dark spot. Oh, I'm starting to see all the dark spots. I see the lines. I see where I maybe should stretch the blend a little bit more. Maybe I should compress the blend, or maybe this type of blend. You start to see all of these things once you develop that barber eye. And if you don't know what a good fade looks like, you're really, and ultimately barbering is art. So it's everyone's art or masterpiece may be different. You might do a ball fade. I might do a ball fade. Our ball fades may look totally different. They both may be stellar ball fades, but different. That's why it's art. That's why I consider barbering art, because everyone's interpretation of something is different. Now, your hot top fade might be different than my hot top fade. The blend might be a little bit different on yours than mine. Both equally as good, but just different interpretations of art. So knowing what a good fade looks like is important. Now, one good thing that can help you seek out what a good fade looks like is Instagram. Perfect. There's plenty of barbers on Instagram. There's plenty of photos of haircuts on Instagram. Just scroll through and just look at different haircuts. Look at how the blend is set on this type of haircut, this hair texture, and whatever type of haircut, whether it's like a pompadour, a comb over, a box, high ball fade, mid, low, a drop fade, or taper. Look at what the blends look like. Low tapers, high tapers, mid tapers. It doesn't matter. Just look at what the blends look like and what do you like. It's ultimately, the client is always right. And that's the end game, right? Is making the client happy. But the barbers actually have to know what looks good on a client. And it all comes in consultation, but we're not going to talk about that because that's not a part of this video. But knowing what all of these things look like, the different approaches, everyone has their different style of fading. And it varies from different countries, whether it's here in America, east to west, north and south. Everyone's interpretation of something is a little bit different. So knowing what a good fade looks like is very, very important in learning how to fade. Now let's move on to the last tip in learning how to do a good fade, and that is having good professional, remember that word, professional equipment. Now, seeing how you're watching this video on YouTube, I'm sure you have seen the YouTube Walmart Clipper Challenge videos done by numerous barbers. Now, they're great. And there's a difference between a professional using Walmart clippers and a beginner using Walmart clippers. The professional knows how to deal with the headache, the agony, the pain in the ass of using that clipper and how to do a good fade. They can make the adjustments because they have the reps, they have the years in the game to know how to use this clipper to maximize its performance. But you, the beginner, don't know that. So having professional equipment helps in the beginning. It helps a little bit because unless you just have a natural knack at knowing how to fade, you might see the difference between the two clippers. But if you don't know how to fade, you probably won't see the difference between a Walmart clipper and, let's say, like a Masters or a Seniors or a the Oster Fast Feeds or something like that. You know, 3 popular clippers. But having professional equipment definitely helps in putting in a good fade, because what happens is those motors are a lot stronger in professional clippers, which means it'll take the hair off a lot quicker. Your haircuts will be done much faster, and the professional clippers are built to last and go through the rigors day in, day out of cutting hair, cutting 10, 20, maybe 30 heads a day. Those clippers are made for that. These Walmart clippers or low-end economy type clippers, they're not made for that. They're made for you doing the haircut on yourself, you know, every week or two, maybe cutting your kids' hair, but they're not made to handle all the different types of hair textures that you're going to encounter and deal with like a professional clipper would. And a lot of the things too with these lower budget clippers is you don't have the replacement parts that you can with, let's say, a Master or a Wall Senior. They're not as easy to repair because not too many people have knowledge unless you just go through the manufacturer, which is a different story. But professional equipment definitely helps in learning how to fade and putting in a good fade. So that's it. If you guys learned anything, please give this video a thumbs up. If I missed out on anything, or if you guys have a tip that you would like to share with everyone in the comments below, please leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, ThatWhatChamacallitBarber. The link is in the description below. I'm going to get out of here. It's ThatWhatChamacallitBarber signing out. I will holla.